Welcome to my show. A guest here. His name is Dr. Gil Gockley. Dr. Gil, how are you doing, sir?
I am just great. I'm so excited to be talking and having a chat with you.
And also, thank you so much for the time and the opportunity. Firstly, you are an author. You are also a counselor and an educator. Can you please, Dr. Gil, discuss more about yourself and how you are doing currently now, Dr. Gil?
You know, I am having a little trouble hearing you because I'm totally deaf. But are you asking me um, how I'm doing and who I am and how did I get started? You know, I was 24 years old and I received a grant to go to the University of Rochester to um, to a program that was called the Human Potential Movement. It was invigorating. It was exciting. It was dynamic. They were talking about constructively using feelings. They were talking about things like um, teaching values, teaching positive character traits. And it was at that point in time, uh, Tamato, that I actually created a lifelong mission. And that was to take these fragmented, uncoordinated pieces and eventually come up with a step-by-step inner process.
Very much beautiful. We now know how life actually evolves in terms of everything that we do that actually lead to a trajectory, which also drive me to your book as well, Dr. Gill. Awaken Your Inner Self. Five life-changing miracles. Can you please, Dr. Gill, discuss more on the book? And do you also plan to write more books in the coming future, Dr. Gill?
The the book it fell together. I was it took me till I was 80 to do it, but this is a process and a so that really begins with step one, which is to become emotionally healthy. And it's such a simple thing to do, and you don't know how to do it. And that is the first thing is when you're under stress or someone uh, causes you to feel angry or upset, you identify those feelings to yourself before you say or do anything. So if someone calls you a name, you say to yourself, wow, I'm feeling irritated. I'm feeling embarrassed. Automatically, you go to step two, which is getting in touch with yourself. Now you can appropriately deal with those feelings in step three. So self-awareness is the first block that we have to deal with. And then steps 5 through 8 are opportunities to fill that inner self with goodness, with self-discovery activities. You wind up with acquiring a tapestry of inner goodness, and the journey's well along with me today. I, my wife and I wrote a book, um, Loving is Natural, Parenting is Innate, Creating a Value-Centered Family. And even though I'm in my 80s, I'm telling her it is time to bring back thought, to have a parenting book where parents can say, this is what I want to teach my children. This is how I want to model a life that's filled with decency, dignity, integrity, and civility. So if I can talk her into it, yes, you're going to be looking at a second edition of that book.
We'll definitely be expecting that, Dr. Gill, in regards to awakening our inner self and also having the discussion with life changing opportunities that can actually make one to understand who I really am and also other things that can also make them improve themselves and also build themselves at large. And also, I would like to drive to one of the core ideas in your book. is connecting with the inner self and the spirit within. What does that connection looks like in real life for someone who feels disconnected or overwhelmed, Dr. Gill?
The inner journey is essential. We have an external world that is overwhelming. And the majority of people, maybe a lot of your listeners, are in tune with some type of inner journey. But for most people, they're they're being bombarded from the external world of people, places, things, ideas, life situations, life events, political rhetoric, internet rambling, and it's overpowering. The solution is to find a balance, where now I also am working on my internal and working on the journey.
Thank you so much for the insight. That shows that the beauty of the balance for us to actually create the sense or also have the sense of balancing every single thing we do also plays a very huge role in everything that we do within connecting our inner self and also spirits within as well. And also, Dr. Gill, you also speak about the strengthening the inner self through self-discovery. Why do you think self understanding is such a powerful part of spiritual growth and healing, Dr. Gill?
Let me address that in a different way. If I look at external equals stress and noise, if I look at the internal, I'm looking at quiet and peace. And here's an analogy I want to give you, what I'm just thinking of. You pretend you are having a party, and there are 50 people in your yard, and there's a lot of noise, and there's all kinds of stuff going on. There are two children fighting over something. There's a mother and a daughter that are arguing. You look at your friends and a young couple that are kind of having an issue. You're in a circle of about six, and it's like one person says something, and another one says something, and no one's listening, and you're overwhelmed. So there's no one in your home. So you open the sliding door, you go into your home, you close the door. That's the inner journey. That's where we go to get away from the noise, to get away from the judgments, the arrogance, the stuff that causes us stress. And when you're in that home, when you're inside your inner self, you're never alone because you have you and you have the spirit within. So that's what the journey is all about, getting to a place where you can grow and learn and live.
It shows the power of personal growth and also our inner self as well. Our inner self actually shows the sign of strength that we need in our life. It brings out the projection of who we really are. And if we can understand our inner self and also bring ourselves in the point of everything we do and every decision we make, it's actually one of the greatest source of healing. Because our self is our understanding, is our self-help, and also our inner self is the source to every single decision that we make. And that is why I would like to drive to the point whereby you describe replacing fear with love and uncertainty with deeper understanding. What do you think are some of the inner shifts that people move from emotional chaos to spiritual clarity, Dr. Gill?
The world is unfortunately we have become more and more fear-based. And there's a lot of rhetoric that causes people to really feel lost, feel disconnected. And and so and I know that I've listened to some of your messages that you give, and I knew you were aware of the power of introspection, looking at yourself. And the process is to go through a series of self-discovery activities. And Chemical, I, I have some of the most beautiful self-discovery activities that was developed over a lifetime. For example, um, are you aware of the Enneagram? Have you ever heard about the Enneagram, nine faces, nine personalities? Well, I have a four-part series in my book where you go through a series and you identify your personality type. And here's the beautiful thing about this. You will have a personality, and I will identify 20 healthy character traits and 20 unhealthy character traits. And when you are emotionally happy, when you are in charge of your feelings, when you're in charge of your life, you are more apt to act upon the positive, healthy character traits. When you are overwhelmed with stress, when you are angry, when you are anxious or sad, you're more apt to act on your negative, unhealthy character traits. I have, uh, I have, I have one activity where you're identifying 14 universal values that can guide your life, that you can model for your children, you can model for your colleagues. Things like, now listen to these: friendliness, kindness, consideration, courtesy, patience. These are the qualities that, to me, are the cornerstones of love: decency, dignity, integrity, civility. Um, oh, I have one that your listeners can do this right away. Get out a sheet of paper and write down 50 life appreciations. Not 40, not 45, but 50. You're going to be feeling good. You're going to be filling that tapestry of inner goodness with those 50 appreciations. So I have things like my glasses, my hearing aids, my wife's beautiful smile, eating cherry pie with ice cream. It goes on and on and on. But you have to feel good when you do something like that. One more I'll give you, and I have the 12 activities that one has been around for a long time. It's called self-affirmations. And so I have a list of maybe 84 self-affirmations. I asked you to identify 21, write them down, and say them 2 times a day for 21 days. And your brain begins to pick up all these beautiful messages. And some of the self affirmations are things like, I'm a good person. I am kind hearted. I am willing to listen and clarify what someone is trying to say. I'm like a flower in full bloom. I am all that I can possibly want to be. And you say this over and over, and your brain begins to change, and you begin to make a shift in how you're perceiving yourself.
My sincere appreciation for the wonderful insight. It shows that our inner self, it brings out a lot of qualities in us. It provides us the tool that we need to thrive in life: patience, self improvement, acknowledgement, all those features. I'm so glad and I also appreciate the point whereby you brought out some tools that one can also do to also help them in regards to some perspective to build them and also become more better at large. And also, I would like to drive to the point whereby our inner healing can shape the way we show up in our relationship. We are families, we are friends, We have people around us who we need to relate with. But we would like to understand because miracle 5, the fifth of your miracle, focus on presenting the very best of yourself to others through social wellness. How do you think inner healing shape the way we show up in relationship and community, Dr. Gill?
On the 11 steps, and they're in sequence, and they're building blocks. So they just keep getting better as you go through the process. The first, uh, the first 10 steps, you all of a sudden and I'm telling you it will happen. It's not a matter of question. It will happen. You will be in a process for becoming your best. And the word is becoming your best. So when by the time you get step 11, social wellness and dealing with relationships, you're ready. You're feeling good about yourself. You have inner strength. You have a sense of the spirit within. You're feeling like a good, healthy person ready to contribute to your world. In that 11th step, I give some very clear relationship strategies. Let me just give you a couple. One is modeling. The question is, what are you modeling for your children? If you're a boss, what are you modeling for your workers? What are you modeling for your neighbors and for the people in the world? And so again, I go with these basic universal values like kindness, consideration, courtesy, respect for property. It and you begin to model that. And the other piece I want to that is tremendous is the art of listening. I don't know if you've noticed it, but I find very few people listen to me. I start talking about something and they say, "Oh, I know what you mean." I know they start talking about themselves. And then someone else says, "Oh, I know what you think. This is what I," and no one listens. So what I'm teaching people in step 11 is how to listen, how to lean forward, how to acknowledge what they're saying, and then how to ask clarifying questions. So if I'm talking with you, I might be listening to you, and I might say, what happened then? Who are you going to go to for advice and how to deal with that issue? And how did you feel when it happened? How do you think the other person is going to respond to what you said? Do you have to make amends? The part of listening involves clarifying questions. And then there are all kinds of things like what do we mean by unconditional love for your family? What do we mean by unconditional acceptance for your friends? And how flexible are you? And are you willing to compromise with your children, with your work? And then my wife is loving, giving, and forgiving. And of course, treating others the way we want to be treated. I mean, to me, that is the most significant moral statement in the world. It's in the seven major religions. I imagine that's a principle in Nigeria. Yes?
Absolutely, Dr. Gill. I am so glad you actually made one of the most important points because our inner self and also your fifth method actually brought out the light when it comes to how it can actually help us with our relationship with our friends and also our communities at large. And despite the fact that we have friends, we have communities, and we also have relationship as well, we have to adapt the sense of listening. And for us to actually be in the position to listen to people and also understand people better. We ought to be in the position whereby we have actually understand our inner self. We've done our inner work, and also we are in the position to also heal as well, and also become more better in every single thing that we do. And also the five areas that you also focus on in the miracles, the changing, how we can actually build our inner self and also make things work at large, shows a deep insight that there is always hope, despite how things could be tough, despite how we could have some kind of distance spiritually. There is always ways we can actually connect to the source and actually work on ourselves as humans so that we can be in the position whereby we have a out of happiness, because happiness is one of the key in everything that we do. Dr. Gill, there is also a question I normally ask during the end of the show. From our forefathers, from our ancestors, there are a lot of beautiful things that do exist during our forefathers' time that is missing in our time today. If there is anyone or anything you would like to bring back to our time today, Dr. Gill, what do you think that thing would be, Dr. Gill?
Just to be a good neighbor, and you know what? You know, people are struggling. So I need to say this, that, we may disagree politically, we may have different religions, but people are basically good. And I think we forgot how to, when I grew up, you know, and I think of the history, the majority of people are just kind-hearted. And sometimes I think we're so overwhelmed, we forget about the power of being kind, the power to reach out and listen and help and um, like, I don't know, I think the five spiritual gifts, and I got that. I woke up in the middle of the night, and I woke up and I saw this big image of five phrases. They were so powerful. I got up out of bed. I went to my desk and I wrote them down. Now, and I think this tells a little bit about what we once had in the past. For example, I want to tell you the five. God is love, not God is to be feared. Number two, love God, not fear Him. The other one, number three, is love your neighbors, not just the ones that look, sound, and believe as I do. Love all your neighbors and love them with every ounce of energy you have. The fourth one is what we talked about before, treating others the way you want to be treated. You know, if someone's hungry, they need food, you give them food. And one of the messages from Jesus that I think is wonderful, and I look at Jesus as a teacher for all people. You can have your Christian beliefs, your Muslim, your Jewish, your maybe you're a spiritually guided individual. You can have all that, but just take time to listen to some of the messages from Jesus. And one of those says, I was hungry and you gave me food. I was thirsty and you gave me clean water. I was naked and homeless and you gave me shelter and clothes. And he has a story called The Good Samaritan, and it's very clear. I was sick and injured, and you gave me medical care. To me, that's a foundation. That's a spiritual foundation and a foundation for humanity.
Dr. Gill, to be honest with you, Dr. Gill, it all goes back to humanity. Humanity is one of the greatest source to light. Humanity gives us the hope to love one another, to give every single person the love they need, to show the sense of community, to see the other side and as a sense of reflection of love and also care as well. Humanity helps every single one of us to thrive because it removes the sense of selfishness. It removes the cells of ego, and it's also bring us to the position whereby we have every single one as one, and also want the best for every single one as well. And also, Dr. Gill, I also want to use this opportunity to thank you for the time and the opportunity for us to have this time and also this conversation, and also your lovely wife who is always behind you to actually give you the translation as well. Thank you so much, Dr. Gill.
Is it okay? Oh, thank you. It worked out well. I had my wife here helping me with the language. You're a good man. You're a good man, and I'm honored to be talking with you.
All right, Dr. Gill. Have a wonderful day, Dr. Gill. Bye bye.
Goodbye.